In this video, we're going to show you how to replace a water pump and timing belt kit on your Subaru Legacy. This is going to be located on the front of the motor. Let's get started. Here we are at the top of our vehicle on the passenger side, and we're going to remove our two O2 sensor connectors. They have a button on the top. Go ahead and push that, pull straight back, and remove the connector. Do this for both of them, and remove both connectors. Using a clip removal tool, remove the two clips for the air intake. Ours only has one. Remove the air intake piece. Using a 10mm socket, remove the 3 bolts on top of the guard. Remove the plastic guard. Using a 12mm socket, loosen the bolt. This is our pinch bolt for the alternator tensioner. We'll use a 12mm socket on top. We're going to loosen the bolt. You're going to see the adjuster slide down. This is taking tension off of our belt. Using a 12mm socket, loosen the bolt. This is the pivot bolt for the alternator. Now that we have that pivot bolt loose, we can push our alternator down. We have to just get this loose enough that we can pop the belt off, remove the bracket, remove the belt for the alternator. Using a 12mm socket, loosen the pinch nut for our idler pulley. Using that same 12mm, we're going to loosen the bolt for the tension. Loosen the pulley until you're able to remove the belt. Using a 12mm socket, remove the 2 bolts for the tensioner bracket. Remove the tensioner bracket. Looking down behind the power steering pump, we have a 12mm bolt. Go ahead and remove that. Remove the connector for the power steering pump. Push on the tab in the back, pull straight back. Remove that connector. Remove the 12mm bolt on the front for the alternator. Using a 12mm socket, we're going to remove the 2 bottom bolts for our power steering pump. Remove the 2 bolts and pull the power steering pump up and out of the way. Using a 10mm socket, remove the bolt for the hood prop bracket. Remove the hood prop bracket. Now we're on to the bottom of the car. If you have a shield under your vehicle, go ahead and remove that now. Our vehicle does not have a shield, so we can look right up at our lower radiator hose where it goes into our water pump. We're going to pinch this clamp. We're going to pull it back. It is possible that your hose is so swollen that you're not able to move the clamp back over the hose before removing it. Since our hose is so swollen, we're going to pinch our clamp, and I'm going to break the seal between the hose and our thermostat housing. Pinch the clamp and pull it off the hose. Watch your face when you do this. There's going to be a bunch of coolant that rushes out. Be sure you have a bucket under you to catch it. Then remove the hose. Let all the coolant drain out. Pinch the clamp and pull it back. We're going to break the seal in between the hose. I'm going to create a little air hole in the top right here. I'm and try and get all of the coolant to drain out of the radiator and the thermostat housing the best I can. Pinch the clamp for the upper radiator hose, slide it back, and remove the hose off the upper radiator. Using a 10mm socket, remove the top 2 bolts for the fan. We have a connector on the bottom of our fan. We have to lift up on this tab and pull straight back. Lift up on that plastic tab, pull the plug out, and then remove the fan. Looking down all the way at the bottom corner of our next fan, we have one more connector. We're going to lift up on that black tab, pull straight back. Remove that connector. That's your tab. Pull up towards you and remove it. We're going to pinch the tab on the side for the coolant bottle. And this will let it pop out. We're going to pull that out far enough and remove the hose. Remove the 10mm bolt. Put that reservoir right back in. Remove the other bolt. We have one more 10mm bolt all the way on bottom. Remove the rubber hoses off the bottom of the fan assembly and remove the fan assembly. I'm going to install a holding tool. This is a strap wrench that goes around and then locks down. You have the holding tool for the crank. It'll go into these 2 holes or these 2 holes, and then you can hold it. Using a 22mm socket, we're going to remove the crank bolt. Break the crank bolt free. Remove the crank bolt and remove the crank. These cranks are keyed in. They can only go in one way. Using a 10mm socket, we're going to go around and remove all of the bolts for our timing cover. We're going to start with the left cover. There should be 3 bolts for this. Remove the 3 bolts and remove the cover. Using a 10mm socket, remove all of the bolts for the front cover. Remove all the bolts and remove the timing cover. Install the crank bolt. If you have a special tool to grab on, you can use that. If not, use the crank bolt. What we need to do now is get our engine in the correct position to remove our timing belt. And to do that, we need to align all of our timing marks. We have an alignment mark on this back wall right here. And that's going to line up with this little mark that's right in front of the crank sensor. We have a mark on our left pulley, and that's going to line up with this cutout in our cover. And we have one more mark here that's going to line up with the seam of the head. We're going to turn our motor over in a clockwise direction. Once all 3 of your timing marks are getting close, you want to slow down. Now we have all 3 of our lines lined up. All of the marks off our timing belt have come off at this point in its life, so we're going to make some new marks. I'm going to start on this left side. We're going to mark the belt. I'll put a little yellow mark on the front so you guys can see it better. It's going to be that yellow line that's protruding up. And then there's your mark on the cover. In between those two, it's that cutout right there. We can mark our front. There's a little dimple on the front that you can use, as well as this line all the way in the back. And then right there, that's that timing mark. It's embossed. And do the same thing on the right side. And this one's going right on that mating line of the head and the block. Right in between, right where my fingernail just made that line. Using a 17mm socket to hold the cam, I'm going to use the 22 to remove the crank bolt. Remove the crank bolt. Be sure that those timing marks are still in line. It's the most important part about this job. Using a 14mm socket, loosen and remove the bolt for the tensioner. Remove the timing belt. Using a 14mm socket, remove the bolt for the gear. Remove the bolt and the gear. Remove the two 10mm bolts for the thermostat housing. Remove the two bolts. And we're going to remove this housing. When we do, the thermostat may come with it. When this happens, there's going to be a lot of coolant that drains out of the block, even if you have already drained your system. Using a flat blade screwdriver, I'm going to remove the thermostat. Pry out and remove the thermostat. Using a 10mm socket, remove all of the bolts for the water pump. Pinch the clamp for the hose. Slide that clamp back. We're going to remove the hose off of the thermostat housing. Remove the hose off of the water pump. Remove those last two water pump bolts. Using a small pry tool, I'm going to crack the water pump free and remove it. Using a 14mm socket, loosen and remove both of the idler pulley bolts. Install the two idler pulleys. The one with the back ridge goes on the bottom. And the one without the ridge goes on top. Get these bolts started by hand. Snug the bolts down. Torque the bolts to 29 foot-pounds. Remove the water pump gasket. Using a clean rag with some parts cleaner, we're going to go around that mating surface and clean it up. If you need to, you can use a scraper to get rid of any corrosion that's built up. Ours looks nice and shiny though. There's just some old gasket we have to clean off. Get that mating surface nice and clean. Install the rubber gasket onto the side of the water pump. Install the gasket. To hold this gasket in place, I'm going to put 2 bolts through the water pump, through the gasket. Now we're ready to install. Install the water pump into place and get the bolts started. Go around and get all 6 bolts started by hand. Torque the bolts in the sequence we're about to 8.9 foot-pounds. One, this is 2, 3, that's 4, 5, and 6. Go around one more time for our second pass. Remove the gasket off of the thermostat. Install the new gasket. Make sure it's sitting in the groove all the way around. And then we're ready to install it. Install the thermostat into place. Be sure the gasket is fully seated all the way around. Install the hose onto the side of the water pump. Pinch the clamp and bring it back over. Using a scraper, we're going to clean the mating surface of our thermostat housing snout. Go through and clean off all of the corrosion. Go until it's nice and shiny. Once you have all the corrosion scraped off, we're going to take a nice clean rag with some brake parts cleaner, give it a wipe down. Get any of the dirt or oil or coolant off of it. Clean inside too, get any of the shavings. We don't want those going through our coolant system. Install the thermostat housing snout. Get both bolts installed. Plug them down. Torque the bolts to 9 foot-pounds. Install the gear pulley. Get the bolt started by hand. Snug the bolt down. Torque the bolt to 28 foot-pounds. Install the belt tensioner. Torque the bolt to 28 foot-pounds. We have this bottom left idler pulley removed to install the belt. We're going to get the belt installed on our middle pulley first. We're going to line our line up right on top with that mark. And you're going to come and pull it over this first gear. Doing your best to line up the marks. And that one's lined up. To hold that position, we're going to put a little clamp on it. And our belt jumped on our crank. So we're going to come back and we're going to reline that line up. We have our timing marks lined up on the top of each cam. Now we need to get our belt around our water pump. I'm going to get it installed on this gear first, and then slide it up over the water pump. Double check your timing marks, make sure everything's still in place. Get the bottom pulley installed. Get the bolt started by hand. When you get this bolt started, you want to make sure it is by hand. We do not want to strip this out. It can be easy with the pressure from the belt. Torque these idlers to 29 foot-pounds. Once you have your belt fully installed, you can remove the clips that were holding it onto the cams. We can pull our pin for our tensioner now. We're just going to pull straight out and remove that. Install the lower radiator hose onto the thermostat housing snout. Pinch that clamp and pull it back into place. Now that we have our timing belt fully installed, we're going to turn the motor over about 4 times, and we're going to look for our timing marks and make sure they come right back to the top position. Don't worry about the marks on your belt at this point. Once you turn it over the first time, those don't matter. It'll just be the timing marks on the crank and the cams. Only turn your motor over in a clockwise direction. It's around once. Pull that crank timing mark right back to right under the sensor. After turning the motor over twice, check your timing marks on your cams and your crank. With your crank lined up, check your 2 cams, make sure that those marks are lined up. This one on that casing, and the other one with the slot in the timing cover. Remove the crank pulley bolt. Install the timing cover. Get all the bolts started. Go around and get all of the bolts started for the front cover. This hole on the bottom of the cover has the one different bolt for it. Go around and snug down all of the 10mm bolts. Install the timing cover and make sure it's sitting flush. There's a few plastic pieces that have to go inside of each other. And then go around and get all of your bolts started. One on top, one on bottom, and one on the side. Install the crank pulley. Be sure that it's seated on the key. You won't be able to rock it back and forth. Get the bolt installed. Snug it down. I'm going to install a strap wrench around my crank pulley. Torque the pulley bolt to 34 foot-pounds. Now we're going to go an additional 60 degrees. Get that full 60 degrees. We're going to drop our radiator fan down into place. We have to get those two lines onto the bottom of our fan. Get those two rubber lines installed and install your connector. Push until you hear a click. If you don't, give it a pull, make sure it's locked on. Install the two 10mm bolts at the top. Pinch the tab on the side, pull the reservoir out, enough to install the bolts. Snug the bolts down. Install the reservoir, be sure it clicks into place, and install the hose onto the radiator. Install the radiator fan down into place. Get the top two bolts started. Get the bolt on bottom, going through that heat shield started. Install the bottom bolt for the fan assembly and get it snugged down. Install the connector. Push until you hear a click. If you don't, give it a pull. Make sure it's locked on. Snug down the top two bolts. Install the pulley bracket and get the two bolts started. Snug the bolts down. Torque the bolts to 28 foot-pounds. Install the belt around all 3 pulleys. It's going to go around your AC, the inside of the crank, and the tensioner. We're going to put tension on our belt. We're just going to go a little bit tighter. Right there's pretty good. Now we have a 12 mil on bottom that we have to snug down to lock down that pulley. Snug down the nut, locking the pulley into place. Pull the power steering pump over and get it installed. We're going to install our long bolt through the front. Get it lined up, installed into place. We're going to put a short one in the other front side. Get the bolt started in the back. Go around and snug the 3 bolts down. Install the connector. Push until you hear a click. Give it a pull, make sure it's locked on. Torque the bolts to 16 foot-pounds. We're going to pull our alternator up to our bracket and then get our bolt started. We're going to leave this loose so that this can move around and get tensioned. Install the belt. Get it around all of the pulleys. Make sure it's sitting correctly. We're going to put some tension on our belt by pulling the alternator up. You can see the shine on my bolt for where this capture has been sitting for a while, so I'm going to go to that point and then go from there for belt tension. And right there, it's right about where we want to be, so we can snug down that pinch bolt. Install the upper radiator hose into place. Squeeze the clamps and pull them back into place. When I put my clamps back on, I like to put them in the exact same spot they came off, where they have that little imprint. Get your clamps fully installed. I'm going to space those washers out. Get my bracket installed. Install the bolt into the end for the bracket. Snug down the bolt for the alternator. Torque the bolt to 16 foot-pounds. Install the cover and get the 2 bolts started. Snug the bolts down. Don't forget the one on the end. Install the intake into the air box, and then get your 2 plastic clips in the front installed. Install the hood prop bracket and bolt. Snug it down. Reach down and grab your O2 sensor connectors. We're going to get these installed. Push until you hear a click. If you don't hear a click, give it a pull. Make sure it's locked on. Do the same thing with the other sensor. Reach down, grab it, get it installed. Remove the radiator cap. I have a coolant funnel installed onto my radiator. We're going to fill our radiator. Now that we have our radiator full, we can hop in our car, start it up, and bleed our coolant. We're going to keep this apparatus on until it's fully bled. Once your coolant is fully bled and you stop having bubbles come out of here, we're going to slightly pinch our upper radiator hose to push a bit of fluid back in, and then we can remove our reservoir without making a mess. Fully remove the tool and install the radiator cap.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.